Hi everyone, it is I, Heather Valentin, and welcome to my haunted art studio. Today is October 1st, which means that is the kickoff to my 6th annual Lady Heather-o-ween Halloween art party. 31 days of spooky fun, which means for you, art tutorials, live shows, coloring tutorials, painting tutorials, giveaways, and a lot more. Today I'm going to be working on one of my popular Gothies of the Kryptt. Her name is Tempest, and I figured she's just perfect to kick off my Lady Heather-o-ween's Halloween celebration. I'm going to be starting off doing the background, the stained glass window, and I will be using the KingArt Artist Mixed Media Gel Sticks. I have a set of 48. They come in either 12 or 48 set. I prefer the 48. It was very economically priced. I think it was like 25 or 26 US dollars. They come in four nice plastic trays. Let me just pop one of these open here. Very durable. This even includes a set of 48, the metallics. So I was really pleased with that. If you use gelatos, these are very similar to them. For those of you who love pastels or oil pastels, I highly recommend these. I've also found out that if you have like hand ailments, I have MS. So for me, I need products that are very easy to apply and very soft and easy on my hands, which means the easier it is, the less painful it is, the more I can color, paint, and create. And these fit the bill. So let's get started. I'm going to choose a couple colors here from a couple different trays. When you're starting on any kind of product, whether it be colored pencils, markers, or like the gel sticks, save your metallics for last. So if you want to have a nice little sheen, metallics are always, and fluorescence, the same thing. They're almost like a finishing product. So I'm going to go ahead and pull both the gold and the silver out, just in case. I'm going to pull my dark brown. I'm going to pull a couple of those out. And I'm going to get some blues out of here. Let me make sure that's a metallic. Let me switch containers. And I'll pull two of these out. I think this will work. Now, you don't want to go ahead and apply these directly onto the piece of paper. And let me show you why not. They do not blend like they should. And I'm going to choose the lightest color here. When you lay them on a piece of paper, they kind of lay there. Although this, you can see, and I'm really kind of scrubbing. I'm just using basically a cosmetic brush applicator for this. And by the way, you can use these with water also. But you can see how it just kind of lays here. So what I picked up from Amazon was like 3 of these acrylic palettes for like $3. And I'm just going to go ahead and lightly put some onto my palette. Now you have to be careful with these because they do leave like chunks of pigment, as you can see. When you dip your brush in this, you want to make sure you have those chunks thoroughly smooth and blended out onto your brush. Otherwise, it's going to leave like, and you can see I still have one of those pigment chunks. It's going to leave like a chunk of pigment. And you're going to have this kind of effect when you try to smooth this out. So I'm just going to go ahead, and every time I put some on my palette, make sure you close your gel pen, okay? And just go ahead and make sure it's thoroughly saturated. And when I work on stained glass windows, I know right off the, well, when I work on stained glass windows, I should say, I like to play between the creams and the like Naples yellows and the browns and the blues together to give it that kind of vintagey, aged, smoky, creepy look. I do know that her hair is going to be really on the darker side, so I'm going to concentrate with as much of the lighter area here around her, so she kind of like pops. And I'll show you what I mean by this. Now, this is not going to be the only media we're going to be using. I will be using colored pencils and possibly even markers. And before we get too deep in this, let me say that if you are using the gel sticks and you plan on using markers, if it's going to be an area where you're going to cut and encounter the gel sticks, put your markers first. I will not be using the markers in the vicinity of the stained glass window, so we're good to go. If you put your gel stick down and then follow it with a marker, you will have a tendency to goop up your marker, and you do not want to ruin the tips of your pens. With colored pencils, you can lay down as much gel sticks media on here, and you can top it off with your colored pencils. No problem, whether they're wax or they're oil, it'll cover. So that's the only two difference between those. So let me go ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and start laying down some of this color, kind of giving it that dusty old kind of look here. And these guys really do blend together really nicely, so I've never had a problem with that. Like I said, if you have watercolor paper, right now I'm using Canson's Mixed Media 98-pound paper. Even though it is a mixed media, I do not want to mess with, you know, stretching it and laying it down to prepare for watercolors. I want to just kind of keep this as a dry medium. Since I will be doing colored pencils all in this area near the stained glass window, I'm not worried if the gel stick color gets a little bit on my image. And I'm just using light circular scrub motion. I say scrub because you can definitely hear it on the paper. But I'm barely pushing on this paper with these applicators. So even though it sounds like I'm really working it in there. And I always start off with my lightest color. That way I don't have to wash out my brush with soap and water in between each layer. I can just kind of gradually go from light to dark. Now, when I go ahead and do the blue color and the darker colors, I'll show you how to clean your brush with the paper so you can continue coloring. Then when you're all done, you can just go ahead and use soap and water, wash off your palette and clean out your brush and let it dry and prepare it for another day of coloring. Now you have about 24 hours, let's say you make an upsie. You have about 24 hours here where you can erase. And I like using my kneaded eraser. And let me show you what that is. It's just one of these you can pick up for a couple bucks. Erase and then sit here, and it's kind of like silly putty actually. And just go ahead and pull it apart and clean it, and you're good to go. And that is a kneaded eraser. I found that really works really good for wider areas. And if you are going to encounter like a smaller area and a more detailed eraser is needed, I love the Tombow Mono Zero eraser. Anyway, I did get a pigment chunk there. You can buy these cosmetic brush. They come in like a set of 10 applicators on Amazon. And they come in all shapes, different sizes. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I mean, they're really nice to hold. They're not heavy. But here are just a couple of them. I mean, like I said, they come in an array of sizes, and they're really soft. I mean, if you're doing a really big, wide area, of course, you'll use a bigger brush. This just happens to be like my favorite brush because it gets into those smaller details. Like so. And the color I am using, for those of you who want to follow along with me, is tan. Make sure I don't grab my metallic there. This is Naples Yellow. And I just need a little bit of it. I mean, you just need a little bit of it. And just, you know, just a little pressure here and there. It's really, they're just really fun and easy to use and gentle on the hands. I want some light coming in. That's kind of important. Even though it's going to be dark and creepy, okay, for the most part, the image, you do want some kind of light so it kind of silhouettes around this darker beauty here. Now, for those of you who want to color along with me, you can visit my Color of Love shop online. That's all put together, Color of Love shop. And you can purchase this image directly from my store. I will leave I have Inktober on my brain. I will leave a link to this image down in the description below. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab, what is this? Pale turquoise. And always when you're working with any kind of medium, make sure that you have a scratch piece of paper. Now watch, I'm going to change my colors. So I'm going to sit here so I don't muddy the colors together, but I will blend them together. But I want to have a nice clean pickup of this turquoise. So instead of, you know, applying water and waiting for the brush to dry and stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and wipe it out on that piece of paper, then come over here and start blending it and mushing it all up into my brush so I get a nice even coat. And here you go. Now you can see, like I said, it's going to blend in, and that's a-okay. But I wanted that nice, fresh color pickup. And you can see now how it's like aging and dirtying those windows. I mean, come on, she lives in like a Transylvania castle or a Romanian castle, haunted mansion, what have you. I want it to have that kind of a feel to it. And you don't want to do anything too pat with your colors. I mean, I don't want a perfect, you know, unified light circle around her, silhouetting her. I want it kind of be mysterious. So I'm going to come in here with a little bit of that blue and bring it up. Now, as I was saying, if you make it up, so you have about 24 hours, within that 24 hours to erase it. The sooner, the better. And for the most part, depending on the color, it does pick up really, really well with the eraser. After that 24 hours, it has that cure time. It starts setting in when it becomes a little more permanent. Working around that fancy molding, going up here around her horns. Need a little more. I'd rather keep going back to my gel sticks and adding more to my palette than you know, bunching a whole bunch on here and wasting it. You can start going back and laying in darker and darker colors. It's just a gradual build-up of the layers to get to that right darkness that you want. These really do create a very, very dreamy effect. For those of you who are on my Patreon page, you saw one of the real-time tutorials that I did for the month of September. A dreamy, dreamy, it almost appeared to be like a bokeh background. Pardon me, bouquet background. Sometimes you have to forgive my MS brain at times. I like to substitute words. Unfortunately. And you can see how it blends in really, really nice. And you just kind of keep working it. If it applies too dark in one area, just keep working out with your applicator. Maybe this is a stormy sky behind her. I'm going ahead and saying that in my mind, it's this, you know, the darker windows that are kind of dirty, haven't been cleaned in a while. And she really doesn't want all that sunlight coming in, if you know what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and grab a darker blue. And I try, ooh, that's a bright blue. Bright, bright, bright blue. Let me see this gray. I'm going to go to the gray first. And I'm really not worried about cleaning off my brush at this time. Oh, yeah. And there you go. You just want to go ahead and, you know, add some dark around the cracks in those mirrors or in those windows. I'm going to dip into this blue and try it on this paper. It'll work. Come back in where I laid that gray, and you can see how it's blending really, 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 really nice. Just remember those rules that when you're using it, you know, as the dry medium, if you're going to use markers, keep the markers, do the markers first, then apply your gel sticks. If you're using colored pencils, lay down your gel sticks. Get that into a little bit of gray first, then you can top it off with your colored pencils. Back into that gray. And you can see that is really, really, really a cool window. I'm going to get a little more of that gray. Dip that into a little bit of that blue. Kind of following the molding here a bit, because that molding is, you know, has, you know, is extended out a little bit from that glass, so there's going to be a little bit of shadow going on. And for each window pane there, I want to go ahead and maybe not for each, just on some of these. I want to go ahead and darken up those corners, because after we're done here and after it's set up and as one of our final or finishing touches, we're going to go ahead and add some spider webs, because you can't have a haunted castle or mansion without some spider webs. Add a little more of this blue. Like so. Go back in for that gray. The inside of her wings are going to be lighter, so it's okay to go kind of dark around here. And you want to make sure before you let this dry and kind of set up. And when I say dry, they're moist, but they're not soaking wet. I mean, they're a gel stick, so there is, you know, some moisture to them, I guess is about the best way you can describe it. I'm going to go ahead and grab this iron. Let's see what kind of color. Oh, yeah. I'm going to try it on a piece of paper. Oh, check that out. And just darkening up some of these little areas here. And you want to make sure that you pretty much got the background for the first layer, or for the first part of this, pretty much done the way you want it, so you can come back in and let it dry. Or set up, cure, whatever word you prefer. Now these do clean up with soap and water. If you're going to apply them dry like this, make sure that your brush is completely dry before you start applying it. Otherwise, you'll have kind of this really cool watercolor effect. And we'll do that some other day. Dip that into a little blue here. Yeah, like so. Look at this. I mean, we have gorgeous stained glass windows here in like no time. I said, I really, really love this product. And I highly recommend it. For the price, you really can't go wrong. Add a little more of this iron over here to where this broken window is, and along this side. Once this has cured out or dried, you can go ahead and add more layers on top of it, should you choose to do so. You do not have to apply a fixative in between this. No workable fixative or final fixative needed. And a little more of that blue in this iron here on the bottom to give it that really creepy, creepy dark effect here. But I mean, truly, how cool is this? Stained glass window in like no time. Let me zoom in for you a little bit. Like I said, make sure you've gone back through and there's nothing more with these gel sticks that you want to add to this part. What you do not want to do is go continuously up and down all this. You can see I'm being very methodical about where I'm placing this. So it's very, no pattern to it, just kind of, there's a pattern to it because, how can I say this? There's a pattern to it because we're keeping it, you know, very methodical, where we're placing it, and not like a, you don't want to sit here and outline everything, you know, going up and down and this way, like this way. You want it mysterious. You want to kind of have it, I guess mysterious is the best word. Not too pat. So something like this. Now we'll go ahead and let this set up. As you can see, let me get my eraser for you. Some of these colors lift off better than others, but you can see here I'm using my Tombow eraser, and it's lifting up the color just like that. This one may be a little harder to pick up. Some of the colors do erase better than others. Let me get my kneaded eraser. For the most part, it does come up. I'm really not too worried about it. If it doesn't, and leaves just a trace of it, you can see in the main part here on the wing, that's where I really needed it to come up, and it came up beautifully. Just like so. You see there, it lifted up nicely too. On the wooden mat, like I said, I'm not too worried about it because that'll all be brown. But look at this. We have, in just a few minutes, we have a beautiful stained glass effect in the background, kind of that vintagey, you know, old looking smoky windows. And that's exactly what I want to do. Like I said, we will not be adding the spider webs until we're done with the image. But for now, this is a nice, easy way using the KingArt Mixed Media Gel Sticks, how to create a stained glass window. Bye for now. Until next time.